In this video, we're going to be talking and looking at trauma, the fact that not all traumas create a traumatization, and the power of using reflection and reflective practice around traumatic events. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hi and welcome to Outlaw Door. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Claire Attio. For those that are returning subscribers, thank you. Huge apologies for not putting out any videos for the past 2 weeks, but I have been on training, I have been working, and I did launch the sustainable clothing range awareness. I will leave that link in the description box below if anybody is interested. So that's why there's not been any videos for the last 2 weeks. I just wanted to kind of get that out there, and thank you all for being so patient with me. Trauma. Now, when we talk about trauma, most people, if they're not accustomed to working with trauma, instantly go to very traumatic events, very traumatic incidents. But trauma can occur when there is a misunderstanding, when there is, and this is why we always kind of do the inner child work as well. The two kind of go hand in hand, because it's not always that there was a traumatic event, but in the conventional sense, but as a child with a lack of understanding, because the brain's not fully developed, there can be incidents that feel traumatic to that child, and they live with them for the rest of their life. And this is what I want to get into with the understanding here, because when you look at the brain, if you put the brain and how we think, how we process, into 3 compartments. First of all, we take the information in, which is that stem stage, the base of the brain, and then it kind of goes up and it goes into the amygdala, and it's in the amygdala that we make that decision of fight, fright, flight. And we process that, and as we have more experience and as we have greater understanding, we can go, right, okay, yeah, no, and we can take it straight to the cortex and we can process. It's in the cortex that we process. But when there is that undeveloped mind, or because there have been traumatic events, that seed of information can get locked into the amygdala. And what happens there and why it creates such havoc in all of our lives is because when we think about it, it feels like it's happening now, in the present, even though we have that conscious awareness that it is in the past. But the body, the brain, because it hasn't gone into that processing stage and it's still stuck in that amygdala, that seed is still there in that amygdala, it feels like it's happening right now, in the moment, which is where PTSD, I'll get the acronym correct, comes from. Because when people are triggered, they go back into that amygdala and they go back into that moment, even if it was 20 years ago, and they still feel the same fear. And it's really important to kind of get to understand what's going on. It's not a case of give it time and it will dissipate. It's not like grief. And in fact, very often, if there was a traumatic passing and the survivor's grief is not dealt with, and the trauma from that is not worked through, when they have those memories of that day that was 20 years ago, it still feels fresh and raw. That's what we need to take on board as a humanity. We can't just kind of keep brushing this under the carpet. But in the same vein, there are many, many incidences and traumatic events, or what we perceive to be traumatic events, that affect our behaviour and have us being less than our best selves. It has us stepping back from showing up as our best selves because we've not processed it, because we have not intentionally moved it from the amygdala into the cortex for processing. And that we can do ourselves. That we can work through, we can identify, and we can spend the time in reflective practice, using inner child healing if we need to, just to go back and give ourselves that nurturing that we feel or perceive that we didn't get at that time. And we can move that seed from the amygdala into the cortex, where the developed mind of now can process it and let it go. It will store it correctly. It will be stored and filed in our filing system of the mind, in that cortex, for what it is. But until it reaches there, even if you're 40 years old and this is something that happened when you were 4, and it was a severe scolding by your parents because you did something wrong, and it wasn't you, it was a sibling, and you felt unjust and it all felt unfair, and you weren't able to process that, and your parents don't love you, and whatever that is for you. And I'm not belittling anything you went through by saying it like that. But it's important to remember that when we're children, everything seems to be so much bigger because we don't have the mental development that is giving us any tools to be able to process that in any way, shape or form. And if it has got lodged in that amygdala, when you think about it, all the emotions of that given scenario that I just gave, you will have the unfairness, you will have the severity of that scolding, you will have whatever beliefs you built about that situation. They love your sibling more than they love you, or whatever came up for you in that moment, that will feel, even at 40, fresh, like it's just happened. And that's why it still hurts. Being aware of this, being aware of how the mind works, helps us to, as I said, take that seed out of the amygdala and allow it into the cortex for the processing, so it can be given the correct and placed into the correct file. So there's greater understanding, and with that greater understanding, we finally get the relief of release. And reflective practice even is very, very powerful in these given situations. Obviously, if you have gone through a deep traumatic event, then seek therapy. But many of us walk through life with dysfunctions that have us reactive rather than responsive, because we have still those seeds within the amygdala, and it's about finding them, chasing them. And we do this in EFT, chasing that pain, chasing the pain, chasing the root cause. Where did it stem from? And we pull it up. We pull it up, we pull the roots, and we allow it to go into the cortex so it can be correctly processed. Many of the fears that we hold are because we have seeds that were planted when we were very, very young that are sitting in our amygdala, and it's taken root, so it's got bigger and bigger and bigger. Like a weed grows, it gets bigger. If it's left there, if it's not pulled out, it grows and it roots itself down, and we become entrenched in it, and we become entrenched in that belief. Oh, I'm too fearful to do this. I'm too fearful to do that. No, I couldn't possibly do that. And we have all these limiting beliefs because of small seeds that didn't get processed as we were children. And when we do the reflective practice, when we chase those original causes, we can see it for what it is as adults. And it's not about belittling the incident, it's not about belittling the fear, it's about acknowledging it, understanding its existence, and then nurturing it gently, gently, gently. However you are, understanding that body, understanding your body and your psyche before you actually go in and do this is very important, because some people would just go in and go, don't need you, pull it out, get rid of it. Other people will need to just gently tease it, pull a bit of dirt away, see those roots, and then go back another day and pull a bit more dirt out and go a little bit deeper, and until they've excavated all around the roots and they're able to pull it up. They feel capable, they feel ready. So this is, when you're doing this, is about understanding where you're at, being honest with yourself at where you're at and how you feel about this. And if in your eyes that traumatic event is very small up to what other people go through, do not belittle it. Still seek help if you feel that you can't do it alone. As therapists, we see people that have gone through what, if you read it, everybody would believe is a worst nightmare, and then we see other people that have gone through something, and for us or for others it wouldn't seem a lot. For you who's going through it, it is your worst nightmare. It's creating problems in the now, and so it is absolutely valid. And there isn't a therapist, or I hope there isn't a therapist on this planet, that measures by the experience. When we're looking at the what's blocking our clients, is we're looking at the adverse reactions it is currently having on their lives now. And how can we help guide them to make peace with whatever's been gone on, whatever's caused that. So I think that's quite important, because I do know that a lot of people don't seek help when they feel they really need it, because they think that their issue is silly, for want of a better word. And I don't like using that, because nothing that we feel is silly. Everything is valid. But if you feel capable, if you feel strong enough and you're ready to do this, then sit quietly with yourself. Auto writing is brilliant. Meditation is fantastic. Breath work is profound. Qigong helps us to bring in energies and the strength and the courage, and we can kind of boost our energies and step into that power stance to feel that we have the courage to be able to deal with what we deal with. And then we take ourselves just gently, as we feel able to that incident that we know is blocking us. And we look at it and we examine it and we have a conversation with it. And for me, because I'm a visual person, when I'm doing that, I actually open a door and I see it go through and pass through the door, so I then know it's going up to the cortex to be processed, to be filed correctly, and then through that filing I have that release. It is about knowing your body. It is about understanding what works for you. As I said, I'm a very visual person. Other people are an audio person. Other people, they need to do it and understand it on a purely scientific level, in which case, go and study the mind a little bit more. There's lots and lots of information out there. Study the mind, see the processes, understand how the mind works, and then allow yourself to work with that, through that, to release anything that is holding you back from who you truly are. It's a process. It takes time. Don't get frustrated with yourselves. And I'm going to put my hand up because I have been, and not so much now, but I still can be my own worst enemy, in the fact that I think, oh, damn it, I thought I'd got rid of that. I thought I'd healed that. Yeah, I had. It's not about you never did it correctly. It's about there's more there to be excavated. There's more there to be uncovered, discovered, and healed. So I hope that helps. If you found this valuable and you think there's a friend that would like it and they would find value from it, please, by all means, share it. If you've not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And I shall see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.